Alright, welcome to my day 1 guide for normal mode Amascut. Very important disclaimer, these are day 1 strats and day 1 terminologies, so it's a little bit scuffed right now. Of course we will discover new tech, stronger metas, and I will make a much more detailed and much more comprehensive ability by ability guide for every single role at every single relevant enrage when we get there. But for today I just want to get something up on YouTube that should be quite helpful. So for the roles, what we're doing in normal mode right now is we have 2 roles. We have a base tank whose responsibilities are basically to stay outside the whole time, take the primary aggression of Amascut, and provide support from the outside to the players who are going inside the pyramid. Then we have 2 pyramid players, a west and an east. These players are responsible for entering the portals on either side and freeing the minor gods from their stasis traps by killing and destroying the chains. These players will also charge up and empower the statues in the main arena on the outside. The other 2 players are more or less free DPS, and they serve as additional support. So the way we're dividing our team fully is we have the base tank, we have 2 west players and 2 east players. Of those west players, 1 is going in, 1 is staying out. Of those east players, same thing. 1 is going inside, 1 is staying outside. So let's go ahead and start looking at the fight and cover just loosely some of the basic mechanics. So the base tank is going to be the one that's responsible to start the fight. So right away, Amascut is going to start attacking with magic, and everyone else is just trying to do their best DPS. A couple of attacks into the fight, Amascut is going to do this trio of attacks. Now these attacks are telegraphed by these glowing skulls that spawn up from behind her by her feet and rise up over her shoulders. It's very important that you look at these attacks, look at the order that they come in, and look at the colors, as the order and the colors will correspond to the type of damage that she's about to do to you. Now this will only affect the base tank. So for instance, when this trio attack does come up, you'll see Amascut telegraph maybe something like red orbs, blue orbs, yellow orbs. And that corresponds to a melee attack, mage attack, and range attack. The order is going to be random, so be focused, be paying attention, and be ready to pray flick accordingly based on the colors. Now since this is normal mode, you can actually just tank through this with Soul Split no problem, but if you want to start building good habits for higher enrages now, you'll want to flick these. Again, red means melee, blue means mage, and this kind of yellow-green color means a range hit. It's a little bit off-putting that it's yellow, but I think since the arena is already so saturated in green, they went with this yellow skull to make it stand out just a little bit more. So again, just watch out for the colors, remember the order, and good luck. So in phase 1, we'll keep DPSing Amascut down until she gets to 2.8 million HP. And in the interim, she might switch between magic auto attacks and ranged auto attacks. Again, similar to the quest boss, the magic auto attacks look like green orbs, and the ranged auto attacks looks like some more green javelins. So once you do get Amascut down to 2.8 million HP, the second phase is going to start, and now it's really time for some coordination. Now, you may or may not have some volatile scarabs spawning around the arena. For the purposes of day 1 simplicity, you can and probably should ignore these in normal mode. They will do a very minor amount of damage when they explode, but it's really not too bad, especially in this 0 enrage normal mode. If you want to play safe, you can clear them by using stunning abilities, and the most practical way of clearing a large group of these scarabs is by using Threads of Fate and the Death Guard special attack with Necromancy. Otherwise, just ignore them, or better yet, try and skip them with good damage. If you phase to 2.8 million quickly enough, then she will actually clear the scarabs, we've noticed. Now when phase 2 starts, Amascut is going to become a non-issue. She's basically going to go to sleep, and instead of worrying about Amascut, there's going to be a couple of things that we have to worry about at the sides of the arena. So split up your team accordingly. Your 2 west players and your 2 east players. Your base tank can pick one of the 2 sides and help as well. So at either side, a gatekeeper gorilla is going to spawn, as well as a minor crocodile guardian. The most important thing is to kill the gorilla gatekeeper. That's the key to be able to enter these portals and enter the pyramid realm. So your first goal is going to be to kill the gorilla gatekeepers and then have your pyramid players enter the realm ASAP. Anyone who's staying outside of the realm as support, whether that's your east and west support and your base tank, those guys can start killing the crocodiles. You can only use basic abilities on those. Your 2 realm players have gone inside the realm by entering the portal, and anyone outside the realm can kill the crocodile and kill any Salawas, and be ready to support the pyramid players. The number 1 way we're going to be supporting the pyramid players if we're on the outside is by cleansing the god statues. Now there is a lot going on in this phase, so try and bear with me here. But when the pyramid players enter the realm, their objective is going to be kill the guardian and then kill the 3 chains that are holding the god in stasis. The quicker you can do this, the better, of course. You are technically on a time limit, which you see under Amaskut's main HP bar, but in normal mode, the time limit is very, very generous. Anyway, you'll ideally want to be communicating with your team when you're about to deliver the killing blow on one of these chains, as your teammates on the outside have a responsibility that's directly tied to you killing those chains. So whenever you kill a chain on the inside, one of the players on the outside is going to have to click on the statue that matches the god in order to cleanse that statue. They're going to have to cleanse that statue 1 time per chain killed, so a total of 3 cleanses. If you're not communicating on voice chat or using any other form of communication, visually you can tell when to cleanse the statue because this vortex effect will turn yellow. While the chain is still alive, the vortex will be green. As soon as a chain is killed, the vortex will turn yellow. So if you see that the statue is surrounded by a yellow vortex, click it once. You want to be careful not to double click it as that will end up PKing your teammates. Now, once that player on the inside realm has killed all 3 chains and the statue has been cleansed all 3 times by the player on the outside, now it's the time for the player on the inside to liberate the god from stasis and liberate that light of Tumeken from within them. Once that player has that light of Tumeken, it's going to follow them. You're now trying to escort that light of Tumeken over to the cleansed god statue. So you're going to want to exit the realm and deliver the light to the statue of your god on the outside. While you're doing this delivery, you're unable to use any mobility abilities like surge or dive. You can also place prisms of salvation to give you a little bit of a quick teleport option. But realistically, you are just going to have to run a little bit slowly all the way from the portal to the god statue. So to kind of TLDR phase 2, we're going to want to kill gorillas on both sides, enter the realms on both sides, kill the guardian, kill the chains. The outside player cleanses the statue after each chain is killed, and the inside player takes the light of Tumeken and delivers it to the statue. Once that's finished, Amascut is going to enter this downed state, where you have a really big window of time to dish out a lot of damage without taking any attacks, so you're going to be free to soul split safely here. Phase 3 is more or less going to be a copy of Phase 1. Deal damage, pray accordingly between magic and ranged attacks, unless you're the base tank, in which case it's magic and melee. Pray accordingly for the triad attack if you want to build good habits, and if you get volatile scarabs, optionally you can clear them with Threads of Fate and a tier 90 spec. Now phase 4 is going to be very similar to phase 2 again, but with a pretty spicy twist. So we're still going to want to kill gorillas to enter the realm and kill those chains, but now the gorillas, the guardian on the inside, and the chains all have this green energy shield around them. In order to drop that energy shield, you're going to need to blow it up with an explosive scarab. So you'll see around the arena a lot of these explosive scarabs spawn in that have 5,000 hit points. For any of the outside players or the support players, you're going to want to kill one of those scarabs. It's going to fall over onto its back like a turtle on its shell. Then you can click on it to grab it, and you can throw it anywhere across the whole map like a football just by clicking. So once you pick up that scarab, throw it at the gorilla by clicking on the gorilla. That's going to explode his shield, and then you can kill the gorilla. Once your pyramid player enters the portal, you're going to need to pass him 4 more scarab bombs. Remember now, he needs to drop the shield of the guardian and the 3 chains. So kill more scarabs, pick them up, and throw them through the shield. You'll see a message that the scarab gets sucked up through the portal. Now, this is where it gets really funny and it gets really coordinated. So you have the outside players killing scarabs, throwing scarabs into the portal, and then you have the inside player throwing scarabs at the guardian, killing the guardian, and then throwing scarabs at the chains and then killing the chains, the same way we did in phase 2. So it's definitely quite hectic, but fortunately in normal mode, you have a ton of time to coordinate this. So again, just like in phase 2, if you can, coordinate with your outside players so that when you kill a chain, they're ready to click on their statue to cleanse. Again, they will still have that same visual animation where the green vortex turns yellow when it's time to click, but because there's so many things going on, voice chat communication really helps with this boss. Now, just like in phase 2, you need to cleanse the statue one time for each of the 3 chains, so 3 cleanses total. And then just like in P2, once all of the chains are killed and the statue is fully cleansed, the player inside the pyramid can liberate the god, take the light of Tumeken from the god, and deliver it across the arena to the statue to empower it fully. Once empowered, you're free to DPS Amascut into the final phase, which begins at 600,000 HP. Now, this phase seems a lot trickier than it is. So phase 5. Our goal is to charge up energy from the god statues into the vessel of Tumeken. Now, to channel that energy from the god statue, we're going to need to form a line of players in between the statue and the vessel of Tumeken. We're more or less going to act like little conductors of electricity. We need to give the electricity a place to flow out from the god statue into the battery of Tumeken. Now, Amascut doesn't want us to charge up the battery of Tumeken, so she's going to try to interrupt this charge. So what do you do to prevent that? You have 2 players alternate this responsibility of deflecting this projectile. Now, before Amascut sends out that ranged-looking projectile, player 1 is going to stand on this green, veiny line on the floor. By standing on that line, that player is going to absorb the energy of that projectile rather than letting the vessel of Tumeken absorb that energy. Now, it really doesn't do any damage, hardly at all. But since emotionally and narratively it's a lot to take that big energy blast from Amascut, that player is not allowed to take 2 projectiles in a row. If they take 2 projectiles in a row, it's just an insta-kill. This is why you need to have 2 players alternate. So player 1 is going to stand on the green vein and absorb the projectile. Once they absorb their projectile, they're just going to step away from the green vein, and then player 2 will instead step onto the green vein to take the next projectile. You just want to flip-flop back and forth like this. Player 1 takes projectile, player 2 takes projectile. All the while, your other teammates are charging up this battery of Tumeken. Once that vessel is fully charged, you can activate Tumeken to fully restore him just by clicking on him. So now that he's fully restored, we have to protect him and he wants to protect us. So this is really where the final phase in normal mode starts. Amascut is basically going to become enraged, and she's going to teleport in front of Tumeken in one of the 4 cardinal directions. When she does that, she's going to try to send a devastating blast attack at Tumeken and the players, but you can prevent these blast attacks from hitting quite easily. Tumeken is going to call the name of one player on the team and request that you become his divine shield. If Tumeken calls your name, the whole screen is going to glow gold and lag like crazy. Once you see that, you must put yourself in between Tumeken and Amascut. Now that sounds scary, but you are the chosen shield of Tumeken after all, so you're perfectly safe. By putting yourself in between Tumeken and Amascut, you're also protecting your teammates. So again, when the name of a player gets called, have that player stand in between Tumeken and Amascut, and then just repeat this while DPSing until the boss is dead. The only other bit of information we know so far is that as long as you're standing within this core rectangle in the center of the arena, you should be safe within Tumeken's shield. And that's really about all there is to it. It's definitely a lot. There's a ton of mechanics in this boss fight, especially for just normal mode. And like I said at the start, this is just a day 1 guide, so we still have a lot to refine, a lot of terminologies and techniques to fine-tune, and we'll be optimizing rotations and strategies for all enrages as we go along. So just as soon as we're able to, I will be bringing you much more polished and much more detailed guides for all enrages and all roles. That said, if this day 1 guide was helpful, please be sure to subscribe, support my channel, follow me on Twitch if you want to watch some of our kills live, and I wish you good luck on your grind. I'll see you soon with updated guides ASAP. Take care.